I'm just gonna double check. The stream for, or the poll for streams was kind of close. Although I think I'm gonna be doing story development streams. But I will check just to make sure. Okay, yeah, it's less of a draw now. All the other options had have 22% now, but story development streams definitely won for that reason. And I also know that the story that I need to be developing is Catharsis, who is, well, which has dominated the poll since the very beginning. Drawing a Blank has kind of tried to come up on Catharsis, but has consistently been behind by at least 10% the whole way. So I've actually been doing a little bit of work on Catharsis already for structuring it and things like that, but I don't think that I'll be doing structure today. I don't feel super prepared. I haven't had time to sit down and write because every time I do, my brain starts stressing out about commissions instead. And I'm going to need to take more for a vet visit, so fucking... I will just go and fuck my entire life, I guess. I will open this though. This is the structure. I'll probably post about it when I've started working a little more on it. I am going to probably, well, I have to do the stream first. Or the notice first, but I'm probably going to list a few things that I know need to get done for Catharsis. And these would be more art-related things. Obviously, I could just open up a fucking document and type in it for like 60 minutes, but I don't want Twitch to penalize me for doing that. I don't know if that's allowed on Twitch, so I'm not gonna do it. And I'll see if anybody shows up. The stream is early because I have other things to do today. So basically I worked myself up into a horrible mood so that I would do it at a time that makes everything else possible for me, despite the fact that I was not ready to do this like 2 hours after waking up. So this will probably be a short one because I am now very stressed out and not happy at all. I didn't have any Adderall today because a lot of reasons. So on top of that, I'm not exactly in like a very focused headspace. Yeah, it's not exactly a great day. I didn't get to sleep until 4 or 5 in the morning either, so I wasn't exactly well rested. But I already woke up stressed out because I only drew 1 commission yesterday instead of 2. If you notice how often I bring up commissions specifically about stress, yeah, that's pretty much the biggest thing stressing me out. And I can't really stop taking them because, like, I have no other fucking income or support, so I guess I just have to deal with being angry and stressed out all the time. But I will try to keep the angry to a minimum while working on the stream, but I'm definitely not going to do that until I'm done with the notice, because notices are stressful. They rub up against every single impulse that I have to not repeat things. It feels like drawing the same character twice is repeating things, yet I only have so many. I really should just have a stream notice image that isn't drawing a new one every time, but since the beginning of my day was basically waking up, having some coffee, and then yelling at myself until I was so stressed out that I opened up this stream, it meant that I did not have any warm-up whatsoever. So that's usually why I do these, is because I need to warm up a little bit, if possible. Yeah, let's do a square back to the chair. Drawing Felix makes me anxious, especially because I still have not completely figured out how to rework Felix's design, because there are a lot of problems, and that's one of the things that I was going to write down for options for this stream's development, is fixing the protagonist design because it's bad. I also got up and moderated comments on the comic this morning because it felt like something productive to do while I was having coffee for breakfast, and there was one that particularly irritated me. So that didn't leave me in a good mood either. I probably shouldn't have done that. So that's my bad. I mean, it's the commenter's bad for leaving a bad comment, but it's my bad for putting myself in that position. I'll be happy once this stream is... I won't be happy, actually, but I will feel significantly less stressed out once this stream is over. But until that point, I think I'm just gonna be fucking wound up. Felix's hair has been a point of contingency for a while with their fucking design. I tried giving them a widow's peak to work it out, but they still have the fucking bangs in the front, so it kind of causes problems anyway. The hair, the cheek fluff is also a huge problem with their design. It might just be what I do on the fucking stream, but I really do not feel mentally prepared to deal with ripping myself a new one about this character's design and then making that into something productive, you know? I definitely do draw Felix's face different already from like the first pass I did about a year ago with their design. But there's still so many mistakes. And I know for other people it probably looks like Felix's design is fine, but from the person who has to draw Felix's design, it is way too stressful. There are constantly parts like headbutting against each other to be like during the drawing process, which is what I consider a mistake in the design. Like, for example, where do I draw Felix's eyebrows? Right here. Because they obviously cause a ton of tangents, putting them on the top of the forehead. Because the forehead isn't big enough to hold the eyebrows and the bangs. And I'm not willing to make a compromise on the bangs or the eyebrows. Yet floaty eyebrows is too bizarre and unreal to make a part of their design. But I will do it for this stream notice. Nope, that's not what I want. Part of story development is, in fact, making sure that the visuals will work out. You know, making side characters designs before you have to write them, things like that. So, it feels kind of cheap on one hand to make this stream about that, and on the other hand, I feel like the critic in my brain that doesn't want to fucking shut up today has gotten enough out of me just by getting this stream started so early. So this is perhaps what I'm going to make the stream about anyway. My stream might disconnect. Actually, let me just... I mean, it might disconnect because of my internet connection right now, just as a heads up. Don't like that lettering. Alright, I'm gonna put this on Patreon and then start that wonderful little timer that tells me when I can shut the stream off and go have a meltdown privately instead. Alright, just closing out some tabs here. I do like how Felix's design has been developed just by doing the design, trying to hash it out one time, but it's not enough. It's definitely not enough. I like how it looks more. It feels more interesting and more Felix, for lack of a better word, but it doesn't feel good to, like, as a design that I need to draw over and over in a semi-consistent way. So I guess that is what I'm going to focus on. I can also first go over the fucking story structure, but I don't think it's gonna be much. The other thing that I needed to do for Felix is I need to hammer out their backstory. Trying to pull it together. Pull myself together. Be a professional while I do this. I do need to do at least some things. Because now photo sets are allowed in on Patreon, I tend to post what I drew on stream onto the stream notices post afterwards. So I do need to... I don't know if, like, I don't think I'll have a finished design by the time I'm done with the stream, so I need something to actually be able to show what I was doing on stream anyway as a summary. I want to pull up Felix's design, Felix's references first. One of them is a half-finished reference from when I was working out some issues with their design, and then the other one is just their first reference. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong folder, is what I'm doing. I can never fucking remember where their references. The half undone one. I do have a folder separate for references. Oh, maybe. No, that's not it, but it's close. I'm gonna open this one. But there is a more finished version of this. It's gotta be above this point then, I think. All right, here we go. So one of the things that I was going to include in Felix's, in tweaking Felix's design is, or just making a reference was different hairstyles for myself, but I'll figure that out later. Now let me pull up their actual reference. Unfortunately, redesigning Felix is going to warrant changing the references of some of the alters because a lot of them are based off of like how Felix looks. Okay. So Felix's first reference, actually I'm going to leave it zoomed out. Let me screenshot both of these and I can compare them on the actual canvas that I have open. I'm not going to go over this. I haven't figured out an acceptable B-plot for Catharsis yet, which is fine. I shouldn't say, this isn't Felix's concept art, but what I felt like was the first rendition of their design that I assume was nailed down. So the face is the biggest issue with Felix. There's way too many details that are fighting for attention. One thing that I said in the design tutorial that I made recently is that the hierarchy of design doesn't just decide which element is most important, but that other elements deliberately make space for the most important elements. And Felix's design does not do that. So I can draw what I mean a little bit here, but I'm gonna probably draw a thing explaining that Felix's design has too many elements first so that I have something to post on the stream. And I'll explain the mentalities, I think, of like what drove some of the decisions in the original. Like, for example, when I was designing Felix originally, it was in one go, and I decided I wanted a fluffy cat because short hairs are pretty common in like just furry designs in general. But I didn't want to do like a Persian design for some reason. So what I did was an alternative kind of long-haired breed that I saw, which was where the cat had long hair on some spots of their body, but it wasn't just one universal length that made them look like a circular puff. Which in retrospect, it might have been better for Felix to be like that, but that's what I'm dealing with now. I think Felix has an established look that's not a puffball, which I think might be ruling out just completely changing their design. But eventually, I can tell that the issues with Felix's design are partially fueled by not wanting to give up any of those. So hopefully, writing out the issues and picking which ones I have to give up or make compromises on versus which ones I am absolutely not willing to compromise on will help fix those issues. That's bad. All right, let's try that again. That's good enough. That's not good, but it's good enough. Let me get my handwriting font. And make it bold. All right. I'm gonna... It's pretty hard on the eyes. There we go. It's also just a lot of text. Let me see if I can break it up a bit. So I can wing a lot of things when I'm making a comic, like illustrating it. I think a comic doesn't even need a full script to start being illustrated. I think you don't even need to know the ending to start illustrating a comic, but to start making one, the protagonist needs to be designed. That needs to be one thing that is set in stone. People notice when a design changes. And I actually changed Sugar's design when I was first making Dropout within the first 5 pages because I felt like it was such a glaring issue with her. It was a very small change. I added the things like the tips of her eye bag marking to go down her nose a little bit, which originally weren't there, and it made her design feel a lot more natural. But I don't want to do that again. So I'm going to go over the first design, some decisions that I remember making, and then this one and what I was trying to fix. And I can probably erase this. No, I don't need to erase the text. I'm just gonna lower this a bit because I'm gonna do like a red line kind of thing. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot wrong with Felix's body. I will at least... there we go. I want to mention their hands too, which I feel are not exactly the worst issue in the world. But they're not super polished. I do have to look at their reference a lot to figure out what the markings are because I don't remember them intuitively. So this is probably enough. But let me draw the commentary itself here. The spots are generally consistent, yeah. On the reference it says the spots can be random, but that's for other people to draw and not me. In a comic it kind of has to be consistent because it's sequential. That hair is pretty big, but I'm not in a peppy enough mood to fix it. I've drawn plenty of shitty self-renderings on stream just to get it done with. Get it over with. Get it done faster. That looks like a middle finger. There we go. What was the other thing? I know there's another reason I gave Felix long hair. Oh, right. I would feel a little more self-conscious about making that decision if I was not, like, if I had not had a conversation with a friend just today about making a hairstyle change based on two separate alters' desires. So I'm gonna mute real quick to turn on the air conditioning because it's fucking hot. All right, I'm back. Um, there's a lot going on, like flying around about writing characters who have the ID, and I think that's an entirely different topic. I need to move both of these, because I did a lot of things with Felix's eyes, and it's an ongoing issue. So... I'm gonna need to move my other drawing down here a bit. Okay, there's definitely a lot going on with Felix's eyes. I want to make this 2 lines long, so there we go. I'm trying not to point out too many ways that these conflict, because I'm probably gonna just go over it when I'm talking about the second attempt at their design. Oh. Making them a cat really worked against me because there are a lot of cat furries, so you need to do more to make a cat furry recognizable. Okay. So there's a lot going on with Felix's design here. I'll probably make a second drawing to keep this going. First thing I'm gonna do though is probably highlight all of the text that indicates one thing I wanted to be important. To just kind of count out how many things I tried to put at the top of the hierarchy here. I can't believe I made a character that I was so worried about leaning into Two-Face motifs for, and then I just went and made Duncan like a couple years later anyway. Duncan flexing on Felix in every regard. Okay. I would consider this 14 different things that I wrote down. 14 different goals that may or may not work together. Yeah, the confidence stat has definitely gone up. Even though it doesn't feel like it. Oop, an extra E in there. Oh. Okay. So I'll take a look now at the second instance of Felix and their design and see what I tried to fix. Let's get rid of that text. So the first thing I did was I made Felix's head shape a little different. It's more horizontal to give the face more room. That didn't exactly work because a lot of the conflicts were on the eyes and the eyebrows. So the forehead I made smaller to give Felix more of an identifiable face shape. It's starting to make their design shape-based instead of, trying to construct actual anatomy like a human skull with a fucking animal face on top. Which I do like, but I didn't do enough in terms of cutting some of these elements out. Let me check something real quick. No, I did not change that. Felix's nose here. I think I mostly tried to work on their face. So what I'm gonna do here is goes. I can go ahead and mention their body. I think I tried to make Felix a little chubbier and it didn't work completely. So that's something that can also be fixed or considered when working on Felix's design here. Actually, there was one other thing. Felix's eyes, and not anything I mentioned in the last one, but still an issue. All right. What is the fucking word for those? Hold on. Okay. That's not a good way to word it. What is this? Oh. Now that I'm editing Dropout with some pretty severe retcons, I have no more inhibition about changing Felix's design as much as needed. Or at least a lot less inhibition. Oh. I think it's important to note that a new rule was made with the change in the cheek fluff. I'll go back and look at both of the designs right next to each other to show what I mean. It gave Felix a little more structure, but there's still too many conflicting elements. They needed structure and less at the same time. More structure and less at the same time. So I think the most obvious thing here would be changing Felix's entire body structure. And on one hand, I'm a little loath to do that because I feel like it's going to inherently change their entire look, but it might work. I'll see. With ideating here, I have to figure out where I can fucking... I might not even do that. I was thinking about where to draw the little image that is me narrating, but I don't think I need to. It's very, to me now thinking about it, it's extremely silly to me to like consider changing a character's design before they've even been written into any canon specifically as a retcon, because that's like part of the fucking process of, yeah, Dropout is getting changes, some pretty big ones. It's silly to consider like the development of a character who hasn't even gotten a story yet retcons that I can't make without admitting that I made a mistake. Just because I draw the character and what I'm thinking as like a way to figure that out. All right, let me just make sure I'm using the correct head size here, or at least a similar one. So I'm going to try to ideate a few different designs based on the most immediate problems and then probably finish up the stream. I don't think that when I point out a problem, I always think of the solution immediately, especially when it comes to like conflicting artistic desires. It means that I usually have to spend some time thinking about the consequences of each one. And then go with what I think is the best. So for example, I can choose either to remove Felix's bangs, or I can choose to have them be like basically the first character I have who has bangs that are covering up part of the face as a design element. And either way, those are going to have consequences for what the design can do. So they're either going to emote less visibly because they don't have eyebrows, which are a huge thing for oh, I lost my train of thought. They're a huge thing for like expressions in general. Or I can remove the hair, which is going to completely change the way that they look in multiple ways. So I'm going to say right now I'm not going to do floaty eyebrows because I don't think it's acceptable for a serious story to have eyebrows like that. There's too much like literal sensory elements going on in the storytelling to be able to justify floaty eyebrows. At least not for like anything besides comedic moments. Okay. Sometimes, as an artist, you can get really attached to certain looks or just small elements of art, and you're unwilling to let them go because they're nice, they're fun in isolation. Sometimes I have to tell myself I'm allowed to draw the character like that, but it shouldn't be all the time. Even if I like how it looks, I can draw it, but it's not, sometimes it's not good for all contexts. So, there we go. Don't need to write it that way. Here we go. Let's see how fast I can do this. There are lots of ideas that I have for the ideation phase, but I'm impatient. I'll sketch it out normally, and then I'll only do the face because the face has most of the structure except for this one. I also think Felix should have a flatter face, if I'm being honest. I think I have to nix the nose structure altogether. Felix is starting immediately. The first thing I think is Felix looks like the Pomeranian that I drew for that game idea. I was just vicariously living out that fantasy where I break the rule and just make Felix a fluffy animal. A little longer. I can still make them bottom heavy. But it won't be as prominent. Should draw their arms here. No. Gonna need to draw at least one of them using the crutch. I don't think it looks bad, but it looks like a bootleg Felix. It definitely does not feel like... It feels like my first reaction is, this is different and therefore I don't like it. To note, these changes are probably going to have to be together, so when I'm ideating, I'm not going, which one is the best, but like, which ones can fit? Which ones fix most of the problems and don't butt heads with each other? So it's just seeing, when I try this idea, what does it fix? Does it cause any other problems? Okay. I'm not going to color that one in. I'm not going to bother. I think I want to draw Felix's eyes first still. Gotta have those. The messy cheek fluff feels like one of the most Felix things about them to me. Which the Persian kind of feels like that conflicts. They need to kind of merge together for for the round look. I don't think that's a bad look, personally. Let me... No, that's not what I want. I will note, one of the problems with this is that it immediately sets a rule about the hair. That means I need to know what Felix's face is doing when their hair changes based on switching, if I'm going to keep that element. Yeah, it feels kind of too unemotional. Because when a character, usually when a character has bangs like this, they're supposed to go for a specific look, which is like this, which is there we go. Okay, time to remove the bangs entirely. Felix's nose is supposed to start right at the bottom of their eyes. That's another design rule that kind of got changed with the face shape changes. And I don't necessarily dislike how it makes the face look. that's not the color I wanted. Let's draw the ears first. Those are probably gonna break off where the hair starts. It looks like a butt head more than a heart, which I don't like. But, even though I feel more hostile towards this one, I feel like it fixes more of the design than the bangs do. So I might try to warm up to it and work with it a little more. As I'm trying to work out these issues. Nope. Alright, I think that's gonna be it for this stream. Sorry for the messiness of it. I will probably not do another stream about Felix's design, but I might post a follow-up as I'm working on it that's like talking about the decisions that I come to make once I get to that point. But for now, I'm just gonna sit on the information that I wrote down and think about what would be a healthy mix of like outside of my comfort zone to allow the design to be flexible versus like what's enjoyable for me to draw.